Welcome to day 11 of the 30-day wholesaling challenge. And in day 11, we are talking about cold calling and how you can start getting wholesaling deals from your phone. That's right. With the power of your phone right here, you can start talking to motivated sellers and get hot, amazing wholesaling deals without spending any money and leveling up your acquisition skills by marketing at the same time. I've said this before and I'm dedicating an entire day to this, but cold calling is hands down the top marketing strategy if you want to level up and get your first wholesaling real estate deal. There's nothing but benefits that come from cold calling. And the best part about it is if you can be anywhere in the entire world and you can cold call and get wholesaling deals. You just have to be willing to do the work and the rewards of amazing wholesaling deals will follow. So if you're excited today to learn exactly how to start cold calling and start cold calling like a pro, literally as a beginner, I'm giving out my entire scripts today. We're going over the objections and everything like that. Do me a favor before we break it down. I'm giving you thousands of dollars of wholesaling game. I could probably charge you thousands just for a cold calling course, but we're giving out completely free today. Do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and let's get into it. So the first question and the first thing we have to understand and talk about is what is cold calling? Cold calling is the art of reaching out to homeowners for the intent to contact people who want to sell their property for a cash offer. It's actually pretty simple. We're smiling and dialing. We're seeing if people are looking to sell their property, and if they are, that's it. That is the sole intention of cold calling. A lot of people get this really confused, but cold calling is not for closing sellers or being this king closer acquisitions person. All we're doing is just finding people that want to sell the property. What we do after that is not cold calling at all. So don't feel like you're cold calling. You have to close a bunch of people off the bat. It does not work like that. Now, when it comes to cold calling, there's basically 4 simple steps to start calling. Step 1, pulling a list. Step 2, skip tracing that list. Step 3, then actually starting to call the list. And then step 4, we're just putting the yeses in the CRM of choice for us. And that's all really cold calling is. Now, there are some things you need to know before we start cold calling here that will help you lead you to success. First and foremost, we have to understand and know what kind of lead list are we actually pulling here? Which ones are we going to pull? Which ones are we going to call? We really going to have to figure this out before we start calling. Next, we got to figure out how much time we're actually planning on cold calling for, pretty much on a weekly basis. We have to know what scripts we're using. And probably most importantly, we got to really figure out what the objections are going to be and how we're going to overcome them. Now, I know you're watching this. It's a little stressful. It's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Don't freak out and don't stress out over this. They're very common objections and they're actually really easy. I'm going to give you this cheat sheet exactly how to overcome them today. And last but not least, we got to figure out what our action plan is and we're going to have to create it. Now, when we're going to cold call, we got to figure out what lists are best for cold calling. I have personally found government lists to be the best cold calling list, just simply because they're less saturated. Heck, they're free. And when you talk to 1,000 cold calling leads and their government lists, there's a way better chance of those 1,000 leads being a deal versus if I used a paid list service. Now, paid list services are great. And the only big con with government lists here is I can't do 10,000 cold calls with all these cold callers and scale up like crazy with government lists. But with paid lists, I can do that. So if you're looking to actually start making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month, you're going to have to really start dabbling hard into the paid list. But starting out, especially in the 30-day wholesaling challenge here to get your first deal, I'll just be focusing on government lists primarily. I absolutely love vacant lists. If we're going to start using a data provider for it, vacant lists are amazing. No one's living in the property. Of course, they're going to want to sell the house. Number 3, the high equity. Make sure you use the filters we teach on the challenge. And we have more at freewholesaling.com. Drawing for dollars is another amazing cold calling list. Pound for pound, outside of probates, it's probably the best cold calling list. The tired landlord list is an amazing one. You can actually get this for free. It's technically a government list, but you can get it from PropStream. It's actually, those are completely different ways that they actually get them. Either the evictions list or people that just own properties for a while. They're both considered tired landlords. I prefer you pull both of them and just get rid of the duplicates. Those are amazing cold calling lists, especially because these tired landlords are not in person. So you can't just reverse drive for dollars them. They're probably outside the city or county being the landlord there. Next here is Zillow for sale by owners. I teach a lot on freewholesaling.com how to do this because it's a great starting beginner guide. It's a great starter list for people to start just getting confidence cold calling. Now, there's really a bunch of really good government lists out here to pull, but for cold calling specifically, I would probably stick to code violations, probates, tax liens, credit card debt lien lists, and IRS debt lien lists, the water shutoff list, fire damage properties, and really sticking to those type of government lists are going to be the best for your cold calling success. Now, on top of this, you have to create an action plan. Think of the greatest men and women of all time. They all had plans before they did something great. I think of Alexander the Great. Think of Martin Luther King Jr., Winston Churchill, Albert Einstein. I think of the greatest minds of the men and women in history, and they all had plans before they did something great and amazing. So why do you think you're any different? Go out here and make an action plan before you go and attack. Attacking and going after something without making plans is a recipe for disaster. So make an action plan with your 2 limited resources, time and money. Create a time budget and a money budget. Figure out in a week for your cold calling. So let's say for next week, if we're cold calling, how much time can I spend cold calling? Budget it out and make it a non-negotiable time. A lot of people watching this, some of them are really into fitness, and from 5 to 6 p.m. is like their workout time, and that's non-negotiable for them. That's their time budget for the day. Do the same thing for your cold calling. Maybe 3 to 4 o'clock, maybe 3 to 5 o'clock is going to be your time budget. On top of that, create a money budget just like your time. How much money you're going to spend with your cold calling. You can do it absolutely for free. You can pay for dialers. You can pay for extra phone numbers. You can pay for lists like PropStream. It's all dependent. The one thing I can tell you is you're going to have some time. You don't really need money, but time's going to be the non-negotiable thing. And I get asked all the time, Zach, how much time should I put into cold calling for me to get a bunch of deals? Well, honestly, it really depends on how good the list you have and how much volume you're doing. If you can push volume with a really high quality list and skip tracing, you'll get the best results possible. Next here, I'm giving you a non-negotiable task to do. You're going to have to use a dialer. And before you freak out like, I have to use one? Yes, of course you're going to have to use one. Do not cold call off your personal cell phone. Instead, you want to mask your phone number so you can protect yourself from spammers and other bad people. And also, for example, if you're doing virtual wholesaling, if I'm calling from Florida and I call someone from California, I want to have their area code of Sacramento, for example. And so it helps mask your phone number. It also changes your area code. It gives you a personal business voicemail. It's just a lot more professional to use, and that's what we need to use. And most importantly, it's free. You can also pay for an auto dialer. For example, I always promote ZachDialer.com because it's the best dialer out there for cold calling and the one that I personally use in my business. Now, unless you're actually going to start calling thousands and thousands of leads every single week, I probably won't do the dialer yet because it's triple line dialer, which means it calls 3 lines at once, which increases a bunch of volume. But you're starting out, you don't have any money, I would not probably pay for a dialer yet. So let's break down the steps. Step 1, we go to freewholesaling.com. We figure out how to pull lists and the right ways to do it. Remember in day 8, we talked all about government lists. Well, in freewholesaling.com, we go a little more into depth about government lists and how they completely work. And I would go there to learn exactly how to pull them, PropStream lists, drawing for dollars. It's all in freewholesaling.com. You see in the bottom right-hand corner here. Step 2, we're going to skip trace this list. Basically, when you're skip tracing, you're finding people's phone numbers. You can either pay a service to get really good phone number data, or you can get a free service, which isn't as good, but it's not terrible at all. Some really good free skip tracing services I found have been TruePeopleSearch.com, White Pages, and just DMing sellers out of the blue. If you can't find someone's phone number, just DM them on Facebook or Instagram and see if they're looking to sell their property. Heck, it's always worth a shot. Now, if you have to pay for skip tracing at someone's phone number, it's almost twice as accurate and better than the free service, but you're gonna have to pay some money for it. So you can use a service like listrei.com or ZachData.com. They're gonna run you between 12 to 13 cents each. So when you're doing a lot of big volume, it is worth it to do this, especially because they're very, very valuable leads. But starting out, remember, if you have no money, you don't have to do it. Step 3, now we get into my favorite part, the actual cold calling part. So let me break down right now my $1 million cold calling script. I call it my $1 million cold calling script, not only because the script has made me millions of dollars every single year with my VA's cold calling, but it also makes you guys, the audience, everybody at freewholesaling.com, millions of dollars every single month. That's right. We have hundreds of thousands of people at freewholesaling.com and through all the social media platforms that use this cold calling script, and they make millions and millions of dollars doing it. And so, you know, there's not one other real estate YouTuber that gives out the free content that we do, and they don't have as much testimonials as us because we actually get you guys results. And so this is a script that works for me. It's stupid simple. I'm telling you, I know it is, but it's stupid simple on purpose because it actually works. Number 1, we're going to ask the seller, hello, is this the owner of 123 Main Street? Seriously, that's the opening line. And we're just seeing if they're the owner of the property. If they're not the owner of the property, what's the point of talking to them? Step 2, we're going to ask them, hey, this is Zach. I had a quick question. Are you interested in selling the property? The point of the script is it just gets to the point as soon as possible. There's no fluff. There's no sugarcoating. It lets you get to as many sellers as possible while getting the best questions out there to the seller. And we're just seeing if they're looking to sell the property. It works a lot better than me saying, are you looking to sell your property? Are you looking to sell your property? Are you looking to sell your property? That doesn't come off the best way. And honestly, you're not going to build rapport or actually get a real motivated seller by doing that. Trust me, I tried. But doing this approach is a little more rapport wise. It's a little more nicer. And if there is going to be a good wholesaling deal, the script will definitely get them there. So overall, we're looking at the script here. It's super basic, but you just ask them, hey, is this the owner of 123 Main Street? And hey, this is Zach. I had a quick question. Are you interested in selling the property? That's it. Now, what are the most common objections we get in cold calling and how do we overcome them? As somebody that actively cold calls for live streams on my YouTube channel to show you guys exactly how to cold call, to this day and what I see on my team are pretty much the same old objections. And once you get used to them and you deal with them so many times, it's pretty simple and they're really easy to overcome. Number one, you're calling somebody, you see if they're looking to sell the property and they say, "Who is this? What do you want? Why are you trying to call me right now?" The best way to overcome this objection is saying, "Hey, my name is Zach. Me and my partner are looking to buy a couple more properties for cash in the area, and we're just seeing if you're looking to sell your property or if anybody else in the area is looking to sell their house." Something like that always works really well, and it's hard for people to be angry with that answer. Next is, "I would, but where would I move to?" Now, this objection actually grinds my gears a little because it's kind of a condescending tone I always get from the seller who says that. But usually I always say, well, usually when people sell their property, they take the money that they get from selling it and then they buy another house because they actually want to move. Do you have any reasons why you're looking to sell your property? You just kind of throw it back on them. Most of the time it's not a good deal, but heck, it's always worth a shot to just answer that objection. Next, and probably the most common one is, "How much are you offering me? How much are you going to give me cash right now on the spot? Give me an offer, give me an offer, give me an offer." They're usually super aggressive, they're super angry, and they want answers now. The best way I found to come over this objection is by simply using the car analogy. I love the car analogy. It's the best one I found, but you just basically ask the seller, "Okay, I'd love to give you an offer." And this is when the seller's super aggressive, by the way. "Well, Mr. Seller, before I give the offer, let me ask you a question. Have you ever bought in a car before?" And the seller goes from super aggressive to like, "Yeah, I've bought in a car before." "Well, before you bought the car, did you test drive it before? Or did you just buy it randomly by just looking at it?" "Oh no, of course you test drove the car." "Well, I got to do the same thing, Mr. Seller. I can't go give you an offer and buy a property and give you a handshake deal without me actually physically seeing the property. I got to test drive it. So when's a good time for me to go actually see the property so I can test drive it so I can give you a legit real offer? I'm not someone right here just giving you fake offers that aren't legitimate without actually seeing and having eyes on the property." But that's the best way to overcome that objection. Now, if the seller says, "Yes, I'm looking to sell the property," we just basically hit them with the 4 pillars we've talked about before, but motivation, condition, time frame, price. We want to make sure and ask them why they're looking to sell the property. We want to ask them the condition of the house. How is it looking? Tell me about the property. Is any repairs? The time frame, when are they looking to sell the property? And price, what ballpark range they're looking to sell it. And that's pretty much it. We get off the phone and we put the lead in the CRM of choice. Now, before we get off the phone, we're not here to close the seller. Remember, this is cold calling. We're just going to say this. "Hey, Mr. Seller, thank you so much for your time today of me looking this over. What I'm going to do is look up some more information about the property and talk it over with my partner to see if this is going to be a right fit for us. And if it is it okay if I call you back tomorrow and we can schedule something for me and my partner to go by the property and look at it?" That's it. You kind of set up that appointment for the next day. You get off the phone and boom, you got the lead in the CRM. And just like that, you became a cold calling pro. The biggest secret I found in cold calling becomes super successful is just to have confidence. Now, confidence is just a belief you have in yourself of what you do and what you say. If you talk to a seller with a sole intention in your heart that you and your cash buyer, your partner, can buy that property for cash, and you truly believe it in your heart, which you absolutely are doing, there's no way you can fail in this wholesaling real estate business, and especially for cold calling. Cold calling's simple. You pull a list, you skip trace that list, you call that list, and you take the yeses and you put them in the CRM. That is it. Then we can go to the next part, which is acquisitions, which is closing the deal, which we'll talk a little later. That is all cold calling is. If a guru or somebody else tells you it's something else, they are completely wrong. This is the script and tactics I use to make millions of dollars in my own wholesaling real estate business and what other people in freewholesaling.com do. So if you want to learn a little more about cold calling, the best lists, skip tracing, all these things, and actually watch live cold calls of me using this phone to get millions of dollars of wholesaling real estate deals and closing sellers and pitching offers and finding people that want to sell the property, do me a favor, make sure you go to freewholesaling.com, my free real estate wholesaling course. And if you want a little more detailed breakdown, all about day 11 of cold calling, make sure you get my cold calling cheat sheet and guidebook guide at Flip It or Plus. This is Zach signing out. I can't wait to see you tomorrow for day 12 of the 30-day wholesaling challenge. I'll see you guys soon. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and see you tomorrow.